Network modernization is a critical step for a digital transformation at government agencies. I'm Wyatt Cash with Scoop News Group, and here to talk about that today is George Duchak, Chief Information Officer at the Defense Logistics Agency. George, thank you so much for joining us today.
Hi, Wyatt, and thank you for having me on your show today.
Before we get started, do me a favor and just kind of describe your portfolio and the larger responsibilities of DLA for our audience.
Sure. Just to set some context for my answers, I'll give you just a brief overview of DLA. DLA is a $43 billion a year nonprofit working capital fund agency in DoD. We manage globally 8 different supply chains that encompass everything from meals to weapons to fuel for all of DoD and a few other federal agencies as well. We operate in more than 20 countries, and in those 20 countries in roughly 48 states, 195 locations. And we support, in our IT infrastructure, support an estimated 100,000 endpoints. And we are in the midst right now of a major IT modernization effort. It's really the first significant one DLA has had in about 25 years. And we're reorganizing the agency around data.
Well, it sounds like you all are a case study in supply chain logistics, if ever there was one. So I'm interested to explore with you then, how has the adoption of cloud and multi-cloud computing impacted your agency's work, and in particular, its networking requirements?
Yeah, so to answer this question, it's important to understand that we operate within the DoD Information Network, the DoD. And the Defense Information Systems Agency, DISA, had, and I emphasize had, provided many of our services. So we have seen our traffic shift away from our direct connections to the DISA data centers and move to our cloud access points, CAPs, and our NIPR, the non-classified IP routing gateways. So right now, we're really in 3 major cloud providers. We're in AWS, Azure, and Oracle clouds. And roughly 94-ish% of all of our applications are in the clouds, those clouds right now. And by the end of September, we will not, emphasis on not, have any of our business applications hosted on-prem in DLA data centers. We would have moved all those to the cloud, and we would have closed by the end of September 23 of our 23 data centers. So as a result of this traffic shift, we've taken steps to upgrade our bandwidth over the past few years. We've gone from 1 gigabit per second to 3, and now we're at 10 gigabits per second on our NIPR and NIPRNet and DISA provided cloud circuits within the DoD. We also have increased the resources available to our network components within the cloud hosting environment due to this increased load. This means that we've upgraded each of our components along the path from on-prem all the way to the cloud, meaning our routers or firewalls, our switches are all now 10 gigabit per second upgrades. Additionally, because we are concerned about resiliency, we have path diversity, so we have multiple paths for this. So another key shift for security reasons was the adoption of application delivery controllers, advanced application firewalls, intrusion prevention systems, reverse web proxy services in our cloud environment. And all these support the security enclaves that were moved from inside DLA to the cloud for applications that we've moved to the cloud. These were added in the cloud environment to streamline traffic flows and to realize some performance gains, albeit modest, over on-prem systems. Finally, I know this seems like a long answer. We've also increased our support staff to manage these additional workloads to support this hybrid cloud environment that we have. Basically, though, we've really just shifted labor from what DISA used to do to now what we're doing in-house.
That's really a remarkable migration story, one of the most comprehensive that I've heard in quite some time. So thank you for sharing that. As you look forward from here, what are your top priorities now over the next year to improve the performance or the scalability of your networks? And I'm curious, how will cost versus value play into your acquisition plans?
Yeah, good questions. We've taken numerous steps over the past year just to increase the core capacity and provide that support to our cloud environments. And I mentioned a lot of these things in the previous question in terms of hardware upgrades, circuit upgrades, things like that. So in addition to those previous mentioned upgrades, we're also conducting a hardware technical refresh of our wide area network, the WAN, network components, as well as those circuits to our remote. And those, when I say remote, they're generally more austere, off the mainstream type locations. Remember, we're a global organization and we operate in some very austere locations. So our WAN circuit modernization is focused on the elimination of legacy TDM technology. I know it's 1990s technology, and we're finally upgrading it. So we're getting out of the TDM business and moving to a DISA offering called Commercial Ethernet Gateway circuit offering. So, recall we operate within the DoDN and we have to purchase our circuits and their services from DISA. So in many of our austere locations, TDM was what was available at the time. We didn't have a choice. But so now, since CEG is available, we're upgrading. And in most cases, the DISA CEG circuits offer a cost and value advantage over these legacy circuits and other available options. The CEG circuits, however, are a more cost-effective solution when viewed from $1 per unit of bandwidth lens, but the costs do vary depending on locations. I mentioned a lot of our austere locations. The cost is still very expensive, and it's really a supply and demand thing. We get more bandwidth, and it's faster and more reliable, but there's not a whole lot going to those locations. So since there isn't a lot of supply, you pay for more of it if you're demanding more of it. So.
Absolutely. And then what additional steps are you taking to build in greater security protections into your networks? And I'm intrigued as well, as you mentioned, with all these austere locations, you've got such a diversity of suppliers and sources. How do you manage all that?
Yeah, this is an exceptionally important question. Nothing works without a strong foundation of security. And the cyberspace domain is one of 5 recognized warfighting domains. But unlike the other 4, there's never a ceasefire. We are, engaged every day in that domain. On any given day, the DLA network and its applications are subject to countless cyber attacks with the intent by a willing and focused adversary to either disrupt our operations, cause harm to our warfighter, cause harm to our industry partners, and in doing so, cause harm to our nation. So we remain vigilant against the cyber space threats, and we validate cybersecurity protections for our networks or cyber secure configurations for critical business systems, which are foundational to our operations, to include backup and disaster recovery capabilities, supporting the network infrastructure, the intrusion detection, prevention, forensic tools. So network access controls are a key component of our security protection, and we're looking to modernize that approach as well as we build in those additional components to get us toward the zero trust architecture. Tying this back to cloud, migration to the cloud, however, does increase our cybersecurity resilience posture by providing a more robust and a more resilient continuity of operations. The enterprise cloud offers failover times of infrastructure because of degradation, because of operational outages, et cetera. And in general, the DoD cloud instances are walled off from commercial cloud instances on those commercial clouds. So one of the things, though, I think that we're doing that's unique in terms of security in the cloud, is we've stood up a software factory at DLA. Mm-hmm. And we make security part and parcel to our software development pipeline using the DevSecOps approach, or the DevSecOps model that I'm sure most folks are familiar with. And so we introduced security early on in our software development lifecycle, and it minimizes vulnerabilities, improves compliance, it brings security and operation closer together. The last thing I'd like to emphasize in this whole thing is that let's not forget about the most fruitful attack vector the adversary has, and it's the human. Many cybersecurity breaches are caused because of human error, a click on an email to a link from a Nigerian prince or visiting a seemingly innocuous website can download malware. So we really do try to instill a culture of cyber vigilance with all of our employees. And all of our employees, I think, know how important each one of their roles is in defending our network. One click from one of our 26,000 employees can set us up for disaster.
Well, and then lastly, George, I was going to ask, with technology evolving so quickly, one of the challenges agencies have faced is having their procurement process keep up. So tell us a little about what your agency has done or is trying to do to speed up your network modernization procurement process, and what key points pain points are you still experiencing?
Yeah, really no shortage of those, and everybody tries to make acquisition more efficient and faster too. So I mentioned earlier that we rely on on DISA, our Defense Information Systems Agency, as the circuit provider and as part of our modernization effort. Previous mentioned to move away from the TDM in favor of Ethernet on the WAN. Well, DISA has established large regional contracts with service providers and made those contracts available to us and their other customers as well. So we get that buying power. The time from the request to the delivery of the service under this CEG construct has been noticeably faster. And under this program, we really, DISA has done a great job. So, say hats off to DISA for doing a good job here with CEG. One of our key pain points, though, in our circuit modernization project is really the fiber cable plant, especially those last mile austere locations. Some places where we're trying to deliver cable or trying to deliver bandwidth, there just isn't fiber in the ground, or the fiber in the ground is fully subscribed and there's really no capacity to modernize. Mm-hmm. We also found that even if we could get to our locations because we had bandwidth in the ground, or we could buy fiber or bandwidth on fiber, our buildings and our circuits in those buildings need to be upgraded as well. So we've even had some recent challenges with telecommunications providers accepting contracts to deliver this Ethernet service and then them not being able to perform due to this lack of infrastructure at the remote or austere locations. So an infrastructure assessment and upgrade planning have to go hand in glove to deliver this Ethernet capability or modernization to our endpoints. So we're continuing, though, to utilize existing contracts wherever possible, to procure these services. And this includes our own IDIQ contract, indefinite delivery, indefinite quantity, IDIQ contract. It's called JETS, J-E-T-S, which stands for J6 Enterprise Technology Services. It's a manpower type contract, as well as other government-wide contracts that include the one that we've used quite a bit, NASA Solutions for Enterprise-Wide Procurement. It's NASA SEWP, but it's pronounced NASA SOUP. GSA contracts, the DoD Enterprise Software Initiative, the DoD ESI contracts, and like that. So you see, we have a lot of different contracting options to try to match to what we're trying to do. And I won't say there's any shortage there, but currently our biggest challenge we're experiencing is in the IT supply chain. It's causing substantial delays in our hardware purchases. A couple of years ago, it was typically 60 days from when we placed an order to when we received the hardware. Today, it's more like 9 months from when we place an order to when we actually receive an order. So the contracting is actually faster than the delivery of the product right now. So just to plug here, as long as I got your ear, we are doing a follow-on to our JETS contract called JETS 2.0, cleverly named. And that's in the works right now. And the timeline for JETS 2.0 solicitation will be out on the street in about 9 months or around April of 23. The current JETS contract performance period ends in January 25. Shameless plug.
Appreciate that. So I find it ironic that the procurement process for once is outpacing the delivery process. We don't hear that very often. But more broadly, really kudos to you and your team for what sounds like a remarkable amount of work that you've been able to accomplish in upgrading your just your whole logistics IT systems. A great story, and I want to thank you, George, for taking a few minutes to share some of what you've been doing, what you've learned, and some of what's next ahead for the Defense Logistics Agency. So thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Wyatt, for your interest. We have a great agency and a great team, and I hope your readers and listeners got something out of this. Thank you.